Hey all, and welcome to the juiciest of YouTube channels. So juicy that in fact, you can squeeze positivity from anywhere across the world at any given time, as long as you're here. That's the best part about it. And that includes all the oceans and all the rest of the bodies of water also. You know what? Let's just fill the oceans with pineapple juice instead. Why haven't we done that? But I hope you're having a lovely day, the most positive day to be alive. Today we will be communicating on the deepest of levels. As you all know, I am a huge fan of mental health, and I will be answering all your questions in a matter of 2 minutes. Plus another 14, but really, wouldn't it just sound cooler if I answered all your questions in lightning round style instead? But, of course, regarding mental health, this is definitely a topic that 100% should be talked about more by other streamers and YouTubers, but I'm very happy that I could take charge on this one and answer any questions that you may have regarding that topic. And of course, I'm glad I could commit to a video like this. It's certainly been a long time coming. So of course, when you get the chance, squeeze the juice out of that subscribe button, drop a like on this video, and we'll catch you in the next positive video. Stay juicy, stay happy, stay humble, and most importantly, stay positive. We'll catch you all next time. How do you keep an unstable mindset positive? I think there are ways to look at it in the aspect of your own self-awareness. I think it's in your best interest to proactively develop certain tools and experiences in your life to create a more stable mindset for yourself, to be able to develop better positive habits. Now, what I mean by that is simply just experiencing some certain things that you haven't practiced yet. For instance, from my own experience, I know that mantras help to create the most stable mindset that I could possibly think of day in and day out. Something that you might have to develop in your life is developing a routine of some sort, or some sort of repetition that you might not have yet. Repetitions may involve waking up in the morning, each and every morning at 7 a.m., 9 a.m., etc. Being a morning person. Sometimes that's not for everybody though. Sometimes being a morning person isn't the way to go. Some people are way more proactive at night, but I think that's for you to figure out. But also other things like eating at the same times every day, exercising at the same times every day, or even just exercising every day. Developing some sort of routine where you might walk to the park every day or every other day. Just something to where you're keeping up with something that you know is a positive habit each and every day, because what happens is when we have this unstable mindset, we now develop neurological patterns within our system to be able to tell us this is the mindset that we have to go with. But that's totally untrue. It's because your neurological system is developed around those habits. So this is why creating repetition and rhythm in other aspects is a very, very healthy thing for you to do. It creates new neurological patterns within your system, which may take a couple months up to a year, but I promise, be patient with it and everything will develop in its own time. But it's a way to rid those other patterns from your system and create more stability. I think that people with unstable mindsets create this sort of unstable routine within their system, and it just creates more instability at that point. So find things in your day to repeat, find things in your day that may create some sort of rhythm for you to help rid the instability from your mind and create more stability in your life. And with that, with more stability in your life, you're going to gain more confidence, you're going to gain more self-esteem, and you're going to gain more self-awareness. You're going to gain just more positivity and happiness overall. So that's where I would start with that question. What to do when you're emotionally down and upset to break out of a funk? This is a question that I'm going to base off of my own experiences once again, and very similar to the last question. I will recommend mantras probably for every question that we have, just because it's my favorite thing to do throughout the day that helps to motivate me and keep me going and keep me doing things and adding experiences that I never thought I would have in my life, and making me believe that anything is possible. But when you're emotionally down and upset, this is a very vulnerable point for yourself. So I think first and foremost, you have to accept that you are in a vulnerable state. And very similar to the last question that I may not have addressed, you have to accept. Acceptance is number one key. Just like, how do you keep an unstable mindset positive? Well, you have to realize that an unstable mindset, you can't bask in the instability. You have to be able to imagine achieving a stable mindset in your head, and you have to truly believe that you have a stable mindset. I think that's first and foremost with the last question that I did not address. But when you're emotionally down and upset, I think that it's in your best interest to continue to do things that you don't want to do to break out of said funk. And usually when you're emotionally down and upset, it tends to stem from past experiences that you may not be letting go, or future experiences that you're anticipating. And at the end of the day, you can't focus on the past, and you can plan for the future, but focusing on the future in an overwhelming state is never good for your mind, because you never know what's going to happen, what's going to change, what the experiences are going to be. So at the end of the day, just focus on the present moment, and you will remain focused in your own life, and you will therefore eventually start to become a little happier, because you're focusing on the simple things. You're focusing on the things that actually matter at this moment. I'll say this all the time. Everyone has 5 seconds to 5 minutes throughout the day to get rid of technology, to get rid of work life, to seclude yourself from the world. Everyone has 5 seconds to 5 minutes throughout your day that you're able to do this. If you can't find time throughout the day to seclude yourself from these things, I recommend the easiest way to do this is before you get out of bed in the morning and before you go to bed at night. You can actually do this before you go to bed, and that way you're just in your bed and you can look up at the ceiling and just relieve your mind from all aspects of what's happening tomorrow and what's happening previous. Because at the end of the day, the most happiest people plan for the future, but they live in the present moment. So remember that. Live in the present moment. Find times throughout the day to breathe. Find times throughout the day to listen to music. If you like to listen to music, music is a great way to relieve stress and to just remain in the present. Remain in the present. Remember, the present is a gift. It's literally called present for a reason, right? Being proactive and doing things that you don't necessarily want to do are the keys to happiness. If you talk to any successful person, they'll tell you the same thing. Go out and execute and be proactive on even things that you don't want to do. Be proactive on the things that you want to do especially, and make sure to write things down. Writing things down gets you in a mindset state that basically tells you, okay, I see it in writing, so therefore I'm going to do it. And the more proactive you are, and the more that you execute on things that you especially want to do and things that you don't want to do, you're going to start to develop some happy thoughts and feelings and ideas that you may not have developed before. And the best way to get out of that funk is to simply jump out of the funk and go do things that may scare you. Go do things, go join a community of people. I know it may seem overwhelming right now, but let me tell you, go make friends with people in a community. Whenever you go to make friends with people in a community, you start to feel a sense of belonging. And I think the sense of belonging can really rid these unstable thoughts. How do you simplify life if it is getting too overwhelming? Well, like I addressed before, staying in the present moment is the best way to simplify your life, but only a couple of things per day. Being a personal trainer for the last 12 years, I've talked to too many people who have too many things on their plate at once, and I think the best way to go about it, from what my own experience has told me, is to stick to only 1 or 2 things per day. Save the rest for tomorrow. If you can learn that packing things in is not the ideal way to live, if you can learn that the simplicity of life is creating 1 to 2 objectives per day, saving the next objective for the next day, the next objective for the next day, and so on, If you can learn to spread it all out instead of keeping it all together, doing all the things at once, feeling, and you might feel accomplished at that point, but doing all things at once, eventually that's going to happen again and again and again, because it's within your neurological patterns to now do everything at once. And then you're going to get too many things and you're going to be overwhelmed because you're going to want to do all those things at one time. It's in your best interest to develop a habit where you're only doing 1 or 2 things per day, saving the next thing for the next day, and so on. Remember, there's 7 days in a week, there's 12 months in a year, there's 364 to 365 days in a year, and there's an infinite timeline until you're 90 to 100 that you can get things done. Remember, it doesn't matter how young or how old you are, age is just a number. But what matters is that you are being proactive and executing on the things that you want to do no matter what age you are. How do you motivate your partner and or your friend to be more proactive on things in general? I think this question really stems from a matter of control. And when you think about it, a matter of control, from what I've experienced, is that to have the most control in your own particular life is to give up control on everything else. Let me tell you, this is the best way to create that sense of pure bliss and euphoric feelings for the control that you have throughout the day. Say in my own experience, if my friend or my partner wasn't maybe listening to what I was saying, the best thing that I can do in that situation is to provide my own positive support and my own positive affirmations to that person. I think that's the best way to control a situation, because you know, at the end of the day, you can't control someone else. Someone else's thoughts and ideas are their thoughts and ideas, and they are not yours. Remember that. And the best way to control that situation is to support and provide positive affirmations toward whatever they're doing, and eventually they'll make up their mind on if they want to continue doing said thing or not. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not your life, it's their life, and they need to live it. But you need to be there, and you need to grant them the ideas that they may not have yet, especially if they're not feeling that positive about it. It's time to step it up and create that positivity surrounding whatever said thing that they're doing, because if the more that they're not proactive towards something, and the more proactive you are at emphasizing said positive affirmations towards said thing, whatever it may be, the more that they're going to think about it. And the more that they think about it, the more into it they're going to be. And the more into it they're going to be, then they're going to experience their life as an independent. And when they experience their life as an independent, they know they're on their own. So at the end of the day, if they know they're on their own and they're experiencing said thing, you just need to be there to support. That's it. And you just need to realize at the end of the day, if you don't like said thing, remember, it's not your life, it's their life. And if you don't like it, you can leave. And at the end of the day, that's going to be the best piece that you can give yourself. But you could also get on board too. Remember that. How to minimize tension and frustration with people who may not listen to the things that you say. This goes back to what I had just talked about, and that's a question upon control. The more control that you feel in yourself, the less control that you feel with the rest of the world. And know that the rest of the world is doing their own independent thing. Because at the end of the day, I'm independent, you're independent, said person is independent. You can't expect them to listen to what you have to say, but you can provide positive affirmations and positive things to say to them and happiness along the way that can cause them to say, oh, they're not trying to control me, they're just simply trying to guide me in a way where that person may be the driver and I'm just the passenger. Remember, at the end of the day, when it comes to someone else's life, you're the passenger in their life, they are the driver. You have to guide them along the road without taking the steering wheel. The best advice to focus on things that are important in a world full of distractions. Well, we've went over a couple of things like mantras. They're fantastic for providing new opportunities in your life to happen, because therefore you with these positive happy mantras, you therefore become more proactive on the things that you may or may not want to do. I know that what helps me in these experiences is simply just writing things down. And I know it sounds simple, but writing things down therefore almost tricks your mind into thinking, hey, I got to do this, and it creates a guilty presence within your neurological system that tells yourself, hey, I'm held accountable now. It's written down. It's simply like looking at a contract and signing the contract. That is what you're doing when you're writing things down. You're signing a contract to yourself that you are going to commit to these things. And neurologically, your mind is going to commit to it, because if you think about it, in the experience of my own experience, I'm a personal trainer, so therefore whenever I go to train someone, the accountability is there that the client is going to say, oh, well, the trainer is going to be there, I can't miss this appointment. It's the same thing with writing things down and fulfilling your expectations in a world full of distractions. You have to know what you can get done before you actually do it. So planning is definitely one thing that I would say is a necessity. Making sure to write things down, planning ahead, checking things off the calendar, checking things off the list, whatever you got to do throughout the day, and I promise you will get things done. And the distractions outside the world can always wait. Remember, you always have time. No matter what you may think, the distractions can always wait. Even the plans that you plan to execute on can wait. Time is the only constant in this world, but it's a very, very beautiful thing, because it gives us an infinite amount of time to be able to do whatever we need to do. Even though we say time flies by super fast, it really doesn't. At the end of the day, you have 24 hours in a day to get things done. And if you don't get things done, you have the next day, and you have the next day. As long as you are creating proactive notions within your own self, you will fulfill your own destiny and what you need to do. And remember, at the end of the day, just basic life advice here is to remember that your future is not set for you. Live in the moment, be proactive in the moments that matter, and your future will soon change for the better, day in and day out, to where you need to be. Remember, life is not a straight path or a highway. It veers off into a lot of curvy paths, wrong turns, U-turns, etc. At the end of the day, you're going to go through a billion failures, and you're going to succeed one time in the things that you love to do. But remember, your failures don't define you, and they're also the predecessors for success. You got to remember that. You have to fail 1,000 times to actually be good at something. And sometimes it may be more, sometimes it may be less. It depends what you're picking up and what you're learning throughout the day. But at the end of the day, try and soak up as much as you can learn and fail as many times as you possibly can, because I promise you that is the key to success. Take your own risks and create your own destiny. That's it.